Take Care of Your Body by Rye with your host, Rylan Rosano. A lot of times, the successful podcaster are the ones that spend time before they launch figuring out why they're doing it and what value they're bringing to the world. Stay tuned in to see what Rye's up to next. Take Care of Your Body by Rye with your host, Rylan Rosano. A lot of times, the successful podcaster are the ones that spend time before they launch figuring out why they're doing it and what value they're bringing to the world. Stay tuned in to see what Rye's up to next.
I hope you're smiling because it's me, Rye. I first wanted to welcome you to the final episode of Season 1 of the Take Care of Your Body by Rye podcast, and thank you so much for the endless love and support you've given me and this season of my podcast. I wanted to create a podcast episode where I talk a little bit about some of your favorite topics and questions that I've gotten over the course of Season 1. In no specific order, I will be answering questions and things I do about my own wellness routine to inspire and educate you a little bit about myself and just kind of motivate you. I want to thank you so much for being here and for including my podcast in whatever you do during your day. Just knowing that at least one person listens to this podcast truly impacts me and makes me want to keep going. Thank you for loving this new project and for being along this journey with me. The first question that I got is, why did I get into yoga? I got into yoga after struggling with stress and anxiety for years. I also developed chronic asthma at a young age of only 2 years old. I struggled with managing my symptoms for years. And during the pandemic, I decided to give yoga a try as a way to improve my lung capacity and reduce stress. To my surprise, I fell in love with the practice and found it not only improved my respiratory system, but also helped me become more flexible and stronger. It aided in calming my mind and finding a sense of inner peace. I like to say yoga changed my life. It not only helps me with my anxiety and on a mental note, but it truly has impacted myself physically and has been an amazing part of my health and wellness journey. So much that I even became a certified 500-hour yoga teacher over the pandemic because I wanted to help others feel better in the same way yoga helped me feel better. What are my daily habits or routines that have had a biggest impact on my overall wellness? I love this question. So, besides yoga, I have also found a love for going outside and reading. I will simply sit in the grass and connect with nature. I think it's so healing just to connect your body with outside and the ground because really everything has started from the ground for us humans. And when we go back to our natural roots, which is being outside and being in tune with nature, it not only helps our mind, but also helps our body find relaxation and truly be recentered. I like to call this time being a fairy. I will put a towel down or a blanket and recenter myself and just get a breath of fresh air. Something I made a promise to myself in regards to is when I'm anxious or stressed, I won't sit in a ball on the floor and feel bad for myself, but I make sure I do something about those emotions. I will either write out how I'm feeling or the things that are on my mind, or I will get up and do a workout, do some yoga, get dancing, just kind of, not only let myself feel those feelings, but not focus on them to the point where I stress myself out even more. Another thing I like to go and do is I'm big on hands-on projects. So if you don't know, I run a health and wellness page called Recipes by Rye, and I love to post nutrition content, wellness content, and recipes in general. You should definitely go check it out, and we can be besties on Instagram. But something I do is I will go in the kitchen and I will get involved in a hands-on project to give my hands something to do instead of gravitating towards biting my nails and getting stressed. And, you know, it kind of helps me distract my mind, but also give me something to do that isn't focusing on whatever's making me anxious. And it helps with getting recipes by Rye content. Um, I've noticed that I need to do something for my mind and body every day to feel good. And if that is something that you also need to do, I think some of the tips I provided might also help you out. Have I overcome challenges or setbacks in my wellness journey? For sure, I think one of the biggest setbacks I have faced was being diagnosed with dysautonomia, also known as autonomic dysfunction. If you don't know what dysautonomia is, I did a podcast episode this season with the Dysautonomia Project, talking a little bit about what they do and their mission to help individuals like me suffering from dysautonomia. But in simpler terms, dysautonomia is a dysfunction of the autonomic nervous system, which regulates non-voluntary body functions like heart rate, blood pressure, and sweating. It is so much more than that. It is probably one of the most known conditions out there, but a lot of people suffering with it don't know what they have because at times they will go to certain healthcare providers and will explain their symptoms, and they will be referred to a psychologist or will be on this journey of years after years trying to figure out what is going on with their body. And something I have made it my mission to do is educate and inspire. Sharing my story might be able to help someone else going through something similar and shed a little bit of light about a condition not many people know about. Check out my podcast episode with the Dysautonomia Project and learn a little bit more about it. So, back on the setbacks, I think being diagnosed with dysautonomia was probably one of the biggest setbacks I have faced over the last year. After coming from a time in the 2020 pandemic where I thought I was the healthiest I've ever been and I was doing everything right. I was doing yoga. I became a yoga instructor. I focused on working out and fueling my body. I really fell in love with nutrition at the time. And hearing that I would have a chronic illness for the rest of my life and it wouldn't go away was definitely hard news for me to take in. I think for a while I was kind of just going through life, trying to figure out how I could be a part of a wellness community when I wasn't well myself. And it definitely was something I had to learn about and am still learning about, but I've kind of learned to see it as dealing with the cards I'm dealt, inspiring others and helping others, whether they're going through a chronic illness as well, or just teaching and educating them on the benefits of health and nutrition for the body, especially if you're also dealing with health issues. I think it fuels my ambitions for health and wellness even more and has inspired me to definitely educate others on my condition. I think to overcome these challenges, I've learned it's all about mindset shifts. Obviously, I'm still working on that, but I think you have to develop a better perspective where you think about it as how do these negative thoughts hinder you from being the best version of yourself? And how would the highest version of yourself go through the challenges you're facing? And I think when you think about it like that, it definitely helps your perspective change and motivates you in a different way. What role does mindfulness and self-care play in my wellness routine? I think both of them definitely keep me grounded. It keeps me going as an anxiety sufferer. I find both mindfulness and self-care relieves that and allows me to take better care of myself, to be the best version I can be for not only myself, but all the people who count on me every day. How do my values and beliefs influence the way I approach and prioritize my well-being? I love this question so much because I think it will show a little bit of my vulnerability. I believe if I'm going through something, I'm going to share a little bit about it to make someone else feel less alone. I think we have a huge stigma around talking about our problems because we don't want to burden others or seem attention seeking, but I think really it sheds a light on the fact that social media is not real. It is a highlight reel. People choose what they want to share on social media, and you can't compare your behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel. I think maybe sharing a bit of our story can also be someone else's glimpse of hope to let them know, they're not alone in their struggles. Everyone is going through something, and it makes them feel less alone and seen. I think health is individualized, and we can help each other on our wellness journeys, but no two health journeys will look the same, and that is absolutely okay. Where there's pain, there's passion, and I think that usually that pain that you're experiencing or you have experienced can drive you to putting it towards something you're passionate about. I know for a fact that's what I've done with my love for nutrition and wellness. I took, my struggles and especially my health struggles, and I put them towards becoming an advocate for health and for good food and especially for nutrition and proper nutrition in a society that we definitely need more of education and spreading awareness that we all are going through something, to be kinder to ourselves and to our bodies, and that taking care of our body is going to look different for everyone, but it is really important to learn what works best for you. In what ways has my perspective on wellness evolved over time, and what lessons have I learned along the way? I think for lessons, I probably have to say that you can enjoy life in the process of becoming the best version of yourself. Just because you're dedicated to health and wellness doesn't mean you have to work out every day, all hours of the day. It doesn't mean you have to follow a strict diet where you only eat vegetables or you only eat certain things and you eliminate so many different things from your diet. I think health is, full of balance. You can follow and live a healthy lifestyle, but you can also incorporate other things into your healthy lifestyle. I think you can pick up other hobbies. You don't have to only eat, a certain way. I think health looks different for others. It's all about finding what works best for you and your body. And it's okay to enjoy life and not have your entire life revolve around health and wellness, because health and wellness can become a beautiful part of our lives, but it shouldn't be the only thing we obsess on. I think my perspective is definitely always changing. I think that wellness works though, and like I said, we each just need to find what works best for us and for our bodies. And it definitely won't happen overnight. It's probably going to look different than, what works best for someone else, but we have to really figure out what works best for our bodies and give ourselves time and grace and compassion on that journey. And just knowing that we will one day have the answers, but the small steps that we take every day towards a better us do count. And it's all about time and giving ourselves the time to educate and figure out what works best for our bodies. I truly have learned over the year to listen to my body, and that's something I definitely want you to take away from this podcast episode. Your body knows best. It knows when you're hungry, it knows if there's something wrong, if a certain situation isn't right for you. You just have to work on listening to your body and being in tune with it. I think that is something that is really important, and your body knows what's going on. Recently, someone asked me who does my intro voice, and I'm smiling at this question. I love any excuse to talk about my mom. My mom does my intro voice. She is an amazing person and a huge part of my life. I am who I am because of my mom, and this podcast holds such a big part in who I am and a big piece of my heart. I wanted to have my mom a part of it, and she is an amazing voice. I think it's truly special to have my mom a part of this journey with me and to be able to include her in a little way. And my mom is my intro voice. So she's amazing. I love her, and I hope to get her on a podcast episode soon. So the next question I got, and it's really an important one. It's, why did I start the Take Care of Your Body by Rye podcast? I had a vision to start a podcast, and I wanted to start it on health and wellness because those are two things I hold near and dear to my heart. I wanted to kind of expand what I do over on Recipes by Rye, and I did not think I was going to be good at podcasting. I had so many doubts and anxieties about starting a podcast to the point where I wasn't going to do it. I told my high school journalism teacher, who believed in this journey and who really allowed this project to come to life in my mind. She sat down with me and told me that I would be an amazing podcaster. I have amazing things to say, and I just need the platform to say them on. And we became really good friends after I graduated high school. And she was intricately involved in creating this podcast with me, making sure I had the right resources, the right equipment, and she supported this journey alongside my mom. And unfortunately, she passed away before this podcast could be released, but this podcast will forever be dedicated to her. And with every episode, I'm always thinking about her and making her proud. So instead of listening to the anxieties and the part of my brain that thought I would not be good at podcasting or that it wasn't right for me, I did the thing and I created the Take Care of Your Body by Rye podcast. And the amount of love and support I've gotten from this journey, and the time I have been able to reflect on each episode I've done and learn a little bit about myself along the way, while helping and educating you guys on certain topics that you've always wanted to know about, or just things that you're interested in but never had the platform to, research them on. I really have enjoyed being a part of this journey with you. And I want to thank you for just listening to this podcast and for being here and for supporting me and for following along and for just sticking with me through season one. We have many more seasons to go, and I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it. So I'm so grateful for Miss DeBacher. I will forever dedicate my podcast to Corinne DeBacher, who is a special friend of mine and will forever live in my heart and through this podcast. Last week, I received a message that not only made me cry for about 30 minutes in the corner, thinking about how someone could even say such a touching thing to me, but it really impacted me and reminded me why I wanted to start this podcast. The message said that I changed their life with my podcast, and knowing that my podcast has impacted at least one person, it's really about that for me. It's about finding topics and educating and sharing what I know. And if I don't know the answers, I find the right people who do. And it's really just about spreading awareness and educating you on health and wellness with the help of medical professionals, wellness experts, dietitians, really anyone who has something that they want to say that I think you would want to hear. And knowing that this podcast has changed the life of at least one person and possibly more is why I wanted to start it in the first place. I want to inspire and impact others, and this podcast gives me the opportunity to do so. So I want to really thank you for just listening to every episode I've published so far in season one. It's crazy to me that someone would even write this comment telling me I changed their life. I really was impacted, and it allowed me to reflect on why I wanted to start this podcast in the first place. And as always, I'm open to your thoughts, your suggestions, or even if you have a story that you want to tell. I do monthly story spotlights where each month I will have an individual come on and talk about their story in whatever capacity they want to talk about. If you are interested in doing so, you can reach out to me on Recipes by Rye, shoot me a DM, or send me an email over at recipesbyry@gmail.com, and we can work on getting your story out there. I again want to thank you for listening to the first season of Take Care of Your Body by Rye podcast, and I want you to stay tuned for what's to come. And maybe you're wondering, what is to come next season, Rylan? Well, I have amazing guests in store. I have various dietitians coming on to speak about what they do in the field of nutrition, from an eating disorder dietitian to a clinical dietitian. I have an endocrinologist coming on to speak about the world of endocrine. I have a world-renowned scientist and doctor who specializes in endocrinology research, diabetes, and so many other things coming on to talk about what he does in the world of medicine. And I have a cardiologist coming on to talk about the importance of heart health and healthy living and how we can fuel our bodies to take care of our hearts. I have so much in store, from wellness experts to various health professionals and anyone who has a story to tell. And I'm so excited to share it with you. I have much more in store, but obviously you can't know everything. Sorry. But I want to just thank you for being on this journey with me. The love, the gratitude, and just the support you've shown me is amazing. I truly love each and every one of you. It's been an amazing season one, and I can't wait for what's in store for season two. Thank you so much for listening to the Take Care of Your Body by Rye podcast. I want you to believe in yourself, to fuel your body today. You only have one body, treat it right, and to do something for you. Thank you so much for listening. As always, take care of your body, and with love, Rye.